It's been nearly 70 years since a group of community-minded women recognized the need for a dedicated facility to combat speech defects in Bristol's children. They made it their mission to find a location, hire a qualified therapist, and raise the funds needed to sustain their new clinic within the borrowed space. Today's Bristol Regional Speech and Hearing Center, with its state-of-the-art equipment, full team of medical providers, and vastly expanded services, looks very different than the 1955 version. Yet the organization is still very much committed to evaluating community needs and finding a way to provide in-demand services.
I am so proud of the things that we've been able to do just in the past 5 years. And I think that's because every provider here has a real concern for their patients. And so as we see the need for things, the providers will come to me and they'll say, Elaine, we need. And then I make that my mission to find a grant funder to be able to provide those services.
First conceived by the Bristol Border Guild, which later became the Junior League of Bristol, Bristol Regional Speech and Hearing opened its doors in September of 1955 in a rented space at Bristol Memorial Hospital. Proceeds from the Border Guild's consignment shop and its annual Follies performance were set aside to fund the center in those early days. But by 1973, it became apparent that more structured oversight was needed.
So they established it as a nonprofit 501c3, which we have continued since that time. The organization moved from the hospital to a location over on Osborne Street for a while, and then in 2019, we moved here, and this is just a beautiful facility. It was designed specifically so that we could have one side for speech and one side for audiology, and we're very blessed to be able to be in this beautiful center now.
From the spacious facility at 359 Commonwealth Avenue, just blocks from downtown, the center serves more than 1,000 unique patients each year from the region and beyond.
You know, the name Bristol Regional Speech and Hearing Center, you think it's just Bristol folks, but we get people, of course, primarily from Upper East Tennessee and the lower portions of Southwest Virginia. That would be the majority of the patients we see. But we also frequently get people from North Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky. And I think one of the reasons for that is because we provide quality services at a very low cost.
Dr. Michelle Durham oversees audiology services and together with Dr. Brianna Turpin conducts hearing evaluations for adults and children, treats elderly patients from assisted living and adult care facilities, evaluates newborns who failed their hearing screening upon release from the hospital, and continues to suggest other ways the service can meet the needs of the community.
I see everywhere from age 6 months to, people well into their 90s. I think my oldest patient is around 99. We see patients who have insurance. We see the underinsured. We see the uninsured. We see veterans. We see a lot of our pediatric population. I do most of the pediatrics. Most of those patients are being referred by primary care physicians because of concerns with their speech delays. They want to rule out hearing loss as a contributing factor to their speech delays. We service a lot of children with developmental delays who are on the autism spectrum, some of those harder to test children and some adults.
We have a great veterans program here that was started through our audiologist. We service a lot of the veterans in the area, and it's really nice to see people going the extra mile to provide caring continuity of care to patients. You know, where you're not having to go somewhere different every time. If you need something, whether it's just the battery for your hearing aid or an actual hearing exam and test, our doctors of audiology can provide that.
Anyone who suspects a hearing loss is invited to call for an appointment. Most insurance is accepted and a wide variety of hearing aids are available, usually at a much lower cost than elsewhere.
Because we're nonprofit, we're able to buy hearing aids at a lower nonprofit rate. Same hearing aids, it's not a lower quality, but we've got that agreement with those hearing aid providers. And so we buy them at a lower cost. Then we're able to send that savings on to the consumer by giving them great hearing aids.
John Thomas, a retired teacher and football coach, said he struggled to hear for some time before his wife convinced him to make an appointment. He received excellent care, he said, and has since referred several friends and family members.
They just made me comfortable when I came. And to me, that was important. They didn't, it wasn't pushed, you need to do this, you need to buy this, you need to do. They're nice and said, these are the options that you need to look at and which one suits you the best. So that's what and everybody's tickled that I can hear.
In addition to treating those who can benefit from hearing aids, the center's audiologists also provide us a variety of specialized services not available elsewhere in our region.
So for those people who are having balance issues, room spinning vertigo that may be due to their inner ear and inner ear dysfunction, we can test and evaluate that. I believe there are only 2 places in the region outside of the VA that do that, and we're one of those. So that it does require referral from a primary care doctor, but if you are having concerns with any kind of vestibular issues, room spinning dizziness, that dizziness when you turn your head, stand up, sit down, then a person may need to have that evaluation. And we do cochlear implant evaluations for the patients who have a profound hearing loss, who are not receiving adequate benefit from any type of hearing aid, so they might benefit from a cochlear implant.
On the opposite side of the center, Allison Campbell-Doss, Director of Speech-Language Pathology, oversees 3 full-time and 2 part-time staff members who specialize in communication difficulties and swallowing disorders.
We also pride ourselves on being a very neurodiversity affirming practice here. So we see a lot of children on the autism spectrum, or autistic children or individuals, and we work really hard on knowing and learning more about what practices help those individuals communicate their needs, and work with their families on advocating for them. So there's this idea that there's this idea that autism is something to be cured or to be fixed. And more research comes out that autism is just a brain difference, a difference in a way that they're thinking. So we pride ourselves on really staying current in research and education and doing right by those patients.
Many of the children she works with are given a communication device, a specialized electronic tablet that has been programmed with words so nonverbal children can communicate simply by pushing the appropriate button.
I get messages from families all the time talking about how excited they are to use it and how awesome it is to wake up and see that their child is seeking out a device to say something like good morning, or I'm hungry, or I want something, and to have that opportunity to be able to say something when maybe before they just jerked your arm to the refrigerator but they couldn't actually tell you what they were wanting. A lot of families, a lot of parents are so excited when that happens, and they're so excited. That's like the first thing they say when they come into session was, guess what happened? They told me they wanted to do this, or they told me, they wanted to go outside, or they wanted to come to see Miss Allison, or they wanted to, go see someone else in another therapy. So I think they're always really excited by the idea of their child finally having a voice, an understandable voice, to be heard by others.
Sequential oral sensory, or SOS therapy, is also available for adults and children with swallowing disorders. This program is led by Ed Bice, a renowned expert on the subject, and often helpful for children with autism who have difficulty eating a variety of foods, or for adults who have suffered strokes or have been diagnosed with Parkinson's or certain cancers.
I feel we have been so blessed with people who are experts in their area. For example, Ed Bice came to me a couple of years ago, and I actually knew him because our kids went to high school together, but he came to me and said, he was teaching and he goes on tour and basically he travels all over the world doing talks at colleges, universities, and for organizations about dysphagia, which is swallowing difficulty. So he is really a dysphagia expert. He's written books, and he came to me and said, I would like to be able to work with you guys on a part-time basis. It was like, just drop a gift out of heaven. And so we were very happy to get him.
In addition to receiving United Way funding and financial support from local cities and counties, the organization regularly seeks grant funds. Fundraisers, including the upcoming Run Your Mouth 5K on August 16th and a wine tasting event on October 23rd, will provide additional resources, and the center continues to operate bingo games each Saturday and Sunday on Euclid Avenue. Private donations are also accepted.
Like any nonprofit, we can't do what we do without the continual support of our community, whether that be through grant funding, contributed support from the city, or from individual donors and foundations. We've been very fortunate to receive the funding that we have. We cannot do what we do without that. It's imperative. It's also important, I would think, for people to know that every service that is done here, every hearing aid that is purchased from us, a portion of that does go to helping others. So we do everything we can to make sure that people get the service that they need.
To learn more about the services provided by Bristol Regional Speech and Hearing Center, or to learn how you can volunteer or make a donation, please go to www.brsh.org or call 276-669-6331.